Hello, let's get started with a new section of this course. We get started with primate evolutionary biology and lecture 5. For this set of lectures, we're concerned with defining key traits that unite primates within the class Mammalia. We want to identify the primate taxonomic units, the members within each unit, and their geographic distribution. We'll also discover the suite of traits that unite the primates and exclude non-primates. We will examine our place within the order Primates and relative to non-human primates. And finally, we will evaluate the relationship between taxonomic classification and hypothesis testing. Lecture 5, Presentation 1. In order to understand primates, we must begin with the fact that primates belong to the class Mammalia. Typically, many of the traits that we humans tend to identify as being primate are actually mammal traits. In the following screens, I will discuss each of these mammalian diagnostic traits, but just so that you see what's coming up, we will discuss homeothermy, complex brains, large brains, diphyodonty, heterodonty, and the hard palate, non-continuous skeletal growth, live young, mammary glands, dependent infants, and higher parental investment. So, what is the influence of a mammalian heritage on primates? And this, by the way, is one of the gibbons. On the last slide, you saw an ape that most people know, a gorilla. Gibbons are also apes. There are only 4 types of apes. There are the 2 in Asia, gibbons and orangutans, and then in Africa, we have the gorilla and chimpanzee. Mammalian homeothermy involves internal control of the body temperature. Before I go on with how this impacts primates, let me remind you that non-mammals such as reptiles don't have homeothermy. Instead, they control heat by using the environment. So on a cold day, they'll get out into the sun to warm up, and on a hot day, they'll get under the rocks and into the shade to cool down. Mammals are freed from those constraints. So mammalian homeothermy has allowed broad expansion into every terrestrial biome, even though most primates prefer warm tropical zones. So if you take a look at non-human primates today, you will find them in tropical regions around the equator. But a number of primates, particularly among the catarrhines, these are the Old World monkeys, apes, and humans, can expand their range into cold places and high altitude places, and even into areas where you would not typically find wild animals. These are the urban areas. So, for example, we get Japanese macaques in very snowy, cold places. There are also Himalayan macaques up at high altitude. And we have sacred langur monkeys as well as the rhesus macaque that love living in human places. Part of the attraction there is all of the food that we have. Mammalian complex and large brains as a percent of total body mass. So it is true that primates have complex and large brains that are outside of the range of other mammals, but mammalian evolution is about the development of a complex and large brain for body mass. So compared to a horse, a primate has a very large brain, but all mammals have large brains for body mass compared to non-mammals. This provides the basis for problem solving and learning. So the young orangutan learns from its 6 to 8 years with its mother how to build a nest. And a young chimpanzee learns from being around his or her mother how to break open nuts using a stone tool or how to get termites using a twig. Mammalian diphyodonty, two sets of teeth. So you already understand this. If you think back to, kindergarten or first grade, a lot of the pictures, the kids are missing their front teeth. You're born without teeth, and then you develop a baby set of teeth that get you through the toddler years. And then as your jaw and muscles and face develop, you will replace your baby teeth with adult teeth. So mammalian diphyodonty accommodates maturation stages from nursing to weaning and adolescence up to adulthood. It also accommodates the maturation of the craniomandibular skeleton and muscle development. Initially toothless, during the nursing stage, baby or deciduous teeth emerge and allow exploration of adult foods before weaning. Adult teeth begin to emerge at weaning. Dental development is conservative in its timing. This is pretty interesting because teeth are so conservative on when they will come into the mouth, usually within 5 to 6 months. We can use this when we are trying to determine the age of juveniles in a skeletal population. Say that you're an archaeologist, you're finding lots of tools, and you find the people who made those tools. You call in a biological anthropologist. The biological anthropologist can go through and looking at dental information can tell whether there are adults and or kids, and if there are kids, they can get those kids' ages down to within 5 to 6 months of what they were when the children died. Mammalian heterodonty, different types of teeth in specific anatomical locations, improves nutrient and energy intake. So let's talk first about the teeth involved in heterodonty. If you take a look in non-mammal mouths, what you'll see is most of the teeth are the same size and they come in throughout the mouth. They don't have particular geographic locations. With a mammal, you have specific teeth in specific places. So, heterodont teeth include anterior or front incisors and canines, such as these. So we've got an incisor here, and over here, and there's a little one that's not showing up back here. And then we have canines here and here. And then down below, more canines, another incisor, and another canine. Those are the anterior teeth that are involved with biting and grasping foods. Now, at the back, what we have are the cheek teeth or the posterior teeth, and these include premolars, premolar here, and then molars here and here, hard to make an M, and then again a molar back here, up here, and then we have a premolar here and an unusually shaped premolar here. The shape of this premolar is to keep the upper canine sharp. So what happens with these back premolars and molars or cheek teeth? They are shaped to process and reduce foods before swallowing. So the mammal puts the food into its mouth and it begins processing the food with its teeth. This reduces the foods to small particles which mix together with saliva create a bolus or ball that is the right size for swallowing. With a crocodilian, you have the opposite effect. With mostly pointy teeth, what they do is they get the food into the mouth and then they gulp and swallow, and their intestines do all of the rest of the work. This is why a crocodilian has to sit around digesting for a long time. A mammal, on the other hand, has a much more efficient process of extracting nutrients from its foods, and so it can get right out there and work again. So the combination of diphyodonty and heterodonty improves dental occlusion. So what is that? Well, here what we're talking about is the tooth surfaces. And let me see if I've got a good color for this. So the surface of these molars here come down with the surfaces of the molars down here. So these are the upper or maxillary molars, and these are the mandibular or lower molars. And what happens is surfaces work against surfaces with all sorts of cusps and crests, and the same thing with the premolars. And basically what this does is you have different designs for teeth that are associated with the different types of foods that animals eat. The combination of diphyodonty and heterodonty improves dental occlusion. Maxillary teeth, chewing surfaces above work against the tooth surfaces on the mandible below. This enables efficient conversion of foods to the fuel necessary for running energetically expensive homeothermic mammal bodies. So the good thing about homeothermy is that you have lots of energy and you can maintain those energy levels nicely, but you have to maintain them by getting lots of food. So animals that are in the mammalian class tend to be constantly on the search for food. The next part that is very important for understanding the efficiency of the mammalian eating plan is to think about the fact that we can chew our food and breathe at the same time. This is made possible by a distinct separation of the breathing area from the oral or mouth area. And this is made possible by the mammalian hard palate. So if we take a look inside the mouth at the roof, you will see several bones come together to create a hard surface that separates the nasal region atop from the chewing area below. And it's made up of several bones, and this allows you to chew your food. It also keeps you from sticking your tongue up and through your nose. The mammalian hard palate improves time for food processing in the mouth by separating the oral and nasal cavities with a bony palate. As a result, mammals consume a variety of foods. If we didn't have that separation, we would have to swallow our food whole, just like a crocodilian. So what do they eat? Well, tarsiers engage in faunivory insectivory. This means that they consume animal matter. And I use faunivory because they're not picky. They don't care if it's a vertebrate or an invertebrate. If they can catch it, they will chew it. Tarsiers are only about 8 inches tall, and the size of their prey does not matter. We also have howler monkeys, much larger than tarsiers. They engage in folivory. That means that they focus on plant foods, foliage mostly. And they're actually pretty picky eaters, so they'll pick off the parts of a giant leaf that they want to eat and they'll throw the rest of it down onto the ground. It makes it easier to track them in the rainforest. Spider monkeys engage in frugivory. So those front incisors help to break open the skin of the fruit, and then they just pull the fruit into the mouth, and the back teeth pulp up the fruit so that it's juiced and they can swallow it down easily. And finally, we have the macaque monkey as a great example of omnivory. That means that they have a variety of foods in their diets, and one of the reasons macaques do well in human populations is because they love junk food, as this one is doing right here. All right, here's a very important characteristic of mammals. We have non-continuous skeletal growth. This allows locomotor function during developmental life stages. If you take a look at a reptile like a crocodile, they have continuous growth throughout their lives. So the largest crocodile in the pond is the oldest crocodile. With mammals, we have an end stage for growth. Each long bone has cartilaginous growth plates between the bone shaft, the diaphysis, and joint ends, the epiphyses. So if you take a look over here, you'll find this is the epiphysis, begins with an E, and here is the other. These are the ends of the bones. We're looking at a femur. This is the femoral head that fits into the hip socket over here. And then right down the middle, we have the shaft of the bone, or diaphysis. Growth primarily concerns the areas right in between the diaphysis at this end and the diaphysis at this end, right before the epiphysis, and that is a cartilaginous region. As an animal becomes mature, what happens is they stop producing cartilage cells, replace them with bone cells, and we end up with a fully ossified bone. The growth plates disappear, and so everything is all filled in right across here and right here. And so what happens then is that this area over here, which is a joint end, can fit into the other joint end of the hip joint, and the animal can function while still growing taller. And down here, this one here fits on top of the tibia or calf bone, and the animal can run around and play. So it's a pretty cool deal for developing animals, because this is also when you have locomotor sensory development going on. Pretty good for young juveniles. So what happens with this non-continuous skeletal growth is it allows bone elongation while maintaining joint integrity and function. As the individual matures, the growth plates ossify, become bone, and heal together. This also is another one that provides insights for osteology and age identification in skeletal populations. In youngsters, you can go around the skeleton and look at what areas have not healed up yet. You put it into a program, and you can estimate the individual's age, usually within about 12 months or so. During long bone growth, youngsters can engage in locomotor activities that enhance sensory motor development and coordination. Skeletal growth and development requires high caloric intake. With the cessation of growth, so once the skeleton is all grown up, adult females can afford the energetic requirements of reproduction. For males, skeletal maturation is delayed. In non-human primate males, skeletal maturation coincides with full canine eruption. And let's talk for a moment about canine. As you will soon learn, the catarrhine group is particularly important to us. This group includes Old World monkeys of Africa and Asia, the apes of Africa and Asia, and humans. For most catarrhine non-human primates, so we're excluding the humans here, the Old World monkeys and apes, canine teeth have social significance. They are less about food than they are about social display. Among many of these species, canine sexual dimorphism is common. Male canines are larger than female canines. So if we take a look at the male Chacma baboon right here, here is his canine. And here is the female below, here is her canine. As you can see, those canines are different in size. Because a nearly adult male lacks full expression of large male canines, his biological sex is disguised. He may have the skull of the male here, but he's got the canine of the female here. This maturational delay allows time to learn how to associate with and behave like fully adult males. So the fully adult males will not attack him because they don't see a male canine. They think he's a female. And this gives these young adult males time to form alliances and learn how to play well with the other male baboons. Mammalian live young. Mammary glands. Mammary is the name that gives the class Mammalia its name, and dependent infants. Primate moms give live birth to toothless and locomotor reliant dependent infants. Maternal mammary glands produce nutrient-rich milk, which the infant must access by suckling at its mother's breast. Dependent? Oh yes, the infant must be carried and it must be fed through nursing. At the same time, mothers may have older juveniles to care for and must obtain enough calories each day for milk production. Lactation is energetically expensive, and maternal health maintenance. Basically, the mother needs to return to her health pre-pregnancy before she gets pregnant again. Let's take a quick look at primate moms and their dependent offspring. Like most mammals, most primate moms forage with their children in tow. This is how juveniles learn about their habitats and, importantly, adult foods, what is edible, where to find it, how to access it, and so forth. The presence of babies while foraging can be a problem for moms. Each mother needs to obtain calories for lactation, milk production. Despite continued reliance on breast milk, once an infant has baby teeth, it starts competing with its mom for adult foods. That's not fair, but in both of these pictures I've shown you here, these are some New World monkeys, tamarins, and marmosets. You can see baby's eating what mom's eating. And so not only is mom finding food for herself, she's also starting to prepare that infant to wean. And the growing juvenile has to be carried everywhere. Some nocturnal primates, the moms such as the loris moms, park their infants on branches while they forage nearby. And you can see pygmy loris twins over here on the left. We call this baby parking. So mom has parked her little babies and she's off finding food. She eats insects and vertebrates. But they still have to move their babies from a home nest to the foraging place. And if mom changes her foraging place, she's got to go back and get the babies and move them to the new foraging place. And if she has twins, she's doing this twice. So as infants become larger, this task becomes more challenging for moms. How large can these babies get? Well, you see the little babies over on the left, and there is an almost mature baby that mom is having to carry on the right. Some primate mothers have assistance from mating partners and alloparenting from other group members. So this is particular to the tamarins and marmosets. Here we have a unique social structure called communal breeding, in which one female does all of the breeding for the entire group. And so it's beneficial to the group members to take care of those babies as well as to the fathers. And what this does is they'll come over, they'll take the baby from mom, and that allows mom to go out and find food so that she can keep producing milk. This is not the norm for most primate moms. Most moms are on their own and have all responsibility for child care. Mammalian higher parental investment is particularly applicable to primates. Primate females tend to have lower lifetime reproductive outcomes than other mammals. Moms invest a lot of energy raising their offspring. By far, the non-human primate with the lengthiest period of juvenile maternal dependence is the orangutan. Orangutans have an unusual social system in which adults do not socialize with each other. Therefore, mothers are responsible for all child care. Orangutan moms have very low reproductive rates. Usually, a female only has 4 offspring over the course of her 45-year lifespan. The interbirth interval, birth spacing, is about 8 years in orangs. However, infant mortality rate is low, less than 20%. Among most wild primates, the range is somewhere between 35 and 50%. So these orang moms are fabulous moms. Their juveniles are entirely dependent on their mothers until they are 8 to 10 years old. During the first 2 years of life, moms carry their babies at all times. Locomotor independence does not occur among orangutans until they are about 6 years old. By that point, human babies are in first grade. Depending on fruit production and availability, weaning does not occur until age 3 to 6 years old. If a baby is old enough to wean, but there isn't plenty of fruit around, mom won't wean them, and she'll just keep waiting until fruit is available, and then she'll wean the baby. Youngsters may sleep with their mothers until they are 8 years old. When it comes to mammalian parental investment, primates have taken the task to extremes associated with prolonged juvenile stages. Lengthy childhood allows increased time for social play and learning how to survive in often complex societies in a broad array of habitats. In summary, primates are members of the class Mammalia and have mammalian traits. Our wonderfully complex and large brains, food processing skills, developmental rates, and parental strategies can be traced to our mammalian heritage 210 million years ago. Primates have merely elaborated on that legacy. Now you are ready for Lecture 5, Presentation 2.